Hi ladies, it's Hillary, owner of Free Babes Handmade and blogger at I'mLikeBrave.com. I started this blog because I'm passionate about entrepreneurship and ladies developing small businesses where you can achieve the time freedom and success to be able to live lives you truly love, uncommon lives with your family. Each week we interview a creative entrepreneur so that you can get a sneak peek into their lives and learn from their successes and their failures and hear their stories and ultimately just be encouraged and inspired by their hard work and what they have built themselves. I hope this blog can be a place for collaboration and community and so that we can all lift up and encourage each other. So I hope that you learn at least one thing that you can incorporate into your current business and that you enjoy. Bye! Hi guys, it's Hillary with I'm Like Brave, and I'm so excited to be here today with Jackie, owner of Happiness Lives Here. Jackie has a pretty significant following on Instagram and super cute bows, and she does a great job of getting them out to bloggers and influencers. So I feel like she's one of the big players out there as far as headbands and bows go. So thank you for being with us, Jackie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so before we start talking about business, tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Okay, so my name's Jackie. I live in Utah. I have two kids, a 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy, Koa and Holden. And I'm very pregnant, about to have my third, and we don't know what it is, so boy or girl. So we're really excited about adding a third to our little household here.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. And as far as what I like to do, anything outdoors. My husband's big into skiing, so we'll never leave Utah.
Okay.
But I love the summer, so I love just to be outside and doing things with my kids.
Okay, awesome. So tell us a little bit more about how Happiness Lives Here started, and also kind of what about you and your background was it that kind of turned you into an entrepreneur and made you want to start this business?
Okay, well, first off, I don't think I thought of Happiness Lives Here as a business or something. It was just something to do on the side, something creative, and I actually started it because I was just thinking I wanted to make a couple $100 every month to help my parents with some home repairs.
Okay.
So that was kind of where it started and why I started it. And my background, or what I went to school in, is apparel and textiles with a minor in design.
Oh, cool.
After I graduated from there, I worked for it was a startup company. It's called JJ Cole Collections, and there I was the project manager over the design team. So I managed our product line, I managed our design team, got to be involved in everything from initial concepts, iterations on the concepts, went to China a lot to work on the manufacturing or the sampling and all that kind of stuff, and testing, packaging, photo shoots, all that kind of stuff. So I had a lot of opportunity in a company to learn how to start a company, or maybe not start a company myself, but more how to work on product design.
Okay.
So I stopped working there when I was pregnant with Holden, who was my second, and so I started Happiness Lives Here on the side, did just bows here and there, and I opened and closed and opened and closed, and every once in a while I have a little bit of traction, and then I'd be like, this isn't really what I want to do, or where I see myself really spending a lot of time, so I'd close it. This year I opened it again in like December or January, and got a lot of traction in February when I had a couple of people, I guess, feature some of my products on Instagram, and I reached out to more people as well at that time. So that's kind of where it started, and my background, and why I started it. I still feel like it's again, I don't know that it's exactly what I want to be doing, but it works really well for me and my family right now, and what we're like this time of life for us.
Yeah, totally. What is it that you think you might want to be doing?
You know, I think that's the holdup, is I don't know exactly what that peg is and where to put that peg. But I think that that's part of being an entrepreneur, is trying out things, and some things work, some things don't. Sometimes you hit a tipping point, sometimes you don't.
Uh-huh.
And so then building Happiness Lives Here, I'm also trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. Sometimes what I'm doing doesn't feel as substantial as I want it to be, I guess, would be kind of what I think. But, I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, and people who have tried a bunch of different, tried wallets, tried this, tried that, tried clothes, tried, and at some point, or like even Susan from Freshly Picked, I remember her saying that she was selling a whole bunch of different things on Etsy, and
totally.
She didn't know, or, what her moccasins weren't her first thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm still trying to find my thing.
Okay. What year did you start?
I opened my shop in December 2012.
Okay, and then you were open and shut
I guess.
for like a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took about like 8 months off during that year, and then 2013 I probably kept it open from about, again, January. I seem to start it again in January every year.
Okay.
January, and then I closed it right after Easter.
Okay.
And then I opened it again probably November, December of 2014.
Okay.
And then in 2015, in February, is kind of where I hit like a real growth.
Okay, cool. And so I'm going to go a little bit out of order, but what do you think was it about this time when you opened that really made you gain traction?
I reached out to more people and tried to get my product seen more. I used Instagram a lot more. Mm-hmm. Before that, I'd, posted pictures here and there, but I tried to push a little bit more, be on Instagram a little bit more, do some giveaways, reached out to some bloggers.
Okay.
Yeah, those kind of things definitely made some jumps in for me.
Okay. And so can you tell us like about your biggest business strength? If you were to teach a college course on entrepreneurship, like what would you teach? Like what would the course be about?
Managing product line, and maybe not the product line so much, because like I look at my product line right now and I know a lot of things that I want to change or things I want to do. But the process of managing supply, mm-hmm. Like the supplies that you need to create what you need to put out there, and managing, yes, just kind of that supply demand.
Okay.
Because I think that's one thing that you don't even realize sometimes going into starting your own little business, is that a lot of the time is not spent just making the product, but it's also managing your inventory and the things that you need to be able to create the things that you're putting up for people to buy.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great point, because I feel like so many of the women that start out are so talented at making things, but then they don't really realize all the other components that are involved in the business. And so it can't get bigger if you just are only making things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that really is such a big lesson, or something for people to know, is like, you're going to spend a lot of time making, if that's where your strength is, right? Mm-hmm. If you can outsource that, that's even better. But yeah, knowing what your strength is, and if making is your strength, having somebody who could also help manage the supply mm-hmm. that you need.
So can you give us any tips about like your strength, I guess? Like if you're really good at managing supply, like what is a tip you could give someone else about it?
I think, so for me, either the beginning or the end of the week, kind of going through, having time set aside to go through what you have in stock, and if you're doing any kind of specialty or a feature on something, make sure that you've got the things that you're going to need to be able to push those out the door as fast as you can.
Okay.
So yeah, setting time aside to manage your inventory, whether that's the beginning of the week, end of the week, being able to kind of keep your workspace clean, mm-hmm. I think is an important part, and that's something that I need, like lately I need to do a lot better at.
Totally.
It's crazy how out of hand sometimes, so that can feel, and like then it feels like everything else is chaos. But yeah, setting time aside to go through and manage your inventory. I create spreadsheets too of things that, things that are in my line and things that I need to order.
Okay.
As I go through, I can say, oh, I need more of this. I need to get that.
Yes.
And finding one other thing on that, finding suppliers that have enough of their own stock of stuff that you're not always having to change up your product for the supply that you can get from.
Yes,
from your
supplier. Think of it, you do that really well, because you just like consistency and dependability. I think of those things when I think of your shop, because a lot of shops, you're right, like you'll go to the fabric store, and especially if it's local, be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, and then you like introduce the product and people go crazy, and then you go back and you're like, oh, that was limited edition, you sold out, dang it.
Yeah. And that's happened to me, and I think that's why, it's those lessons that I've learned that I think I could help pass on to other people.
Yeah, so speaking of lessons learned, the next question is about your kind of like what your biggest weakness is, or if you can tell us about a moment in your business that you had the biggest lesson that you did learn.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking that I'm learning that now is the scalability of my product, because each order is so individual and customized, because on my bows you can choose different like wrap around the center of the felt ones and things like that. So I can't just go and make, in massive quantities, the same of every bow. So making sure that when you think about your product line, keeping it simple to create, I think pure, and a little bit minimalist. So being able to customize bows for customers was really great from a standpoint of like being small, but it makes it really hard to scale.
Yeah.
So thinking about your product and making sure that when you're putting time into creating or designing your product, that it is also something that's scalable.
That's really, really good advice, because especially in the handmade world, it's like you really want to be able to be accommodating and like hand make things.
Yes.
But the reality is, like, we're all putting in a lot of time into our business, and if we can't scale it and grow it, it's kind of like no one wants to stay up till 4 a.m. forever,
Right. Yeah, so, and that's what you find yourself doing when you're doing something so customized and with so many options. And so, that's something that I know, and I think we'll probably get into that a little bit later, but something that I know I need to make some changes to.
Okay. So what is the coolest thing that's ever happened to Happiness Lives Here?
Well, again, so I had Amy from June and January and Jenna from Jenna's Kitchen, both post something on their Instagram of my product, and it was so unexpected that I had orders just coming in nonstop, and I had never had that. I had never experienced my phone was going off every couple of seconds that I had orders coming in, and so I had like 300 orders come in like 3 days, and that blew monthly orders that I had before that out of the water.
That is awesome.
So to have somebody who kind of got behind your product and thought, hey, this is really cool, I'm going to share it with people. And to have that be like such an unexpected, feature, or somebody that you watched, or somebody that you have been watching and think that they do such great stuff, feature your product. That was really cool.
So
I know you had that happen too, right?
Yeah, they just bought from you without you reaching out to them, right?
Yeah. Yep,
That's
on that
really
one
cool.
It was.
Yeah, no, that did happen to me. Like, I was breastfeeding Emery one night, and I woke up, and Amy from June and January had posted about my bows, and yeah, literally, like, I woke up the next morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, all these moms in the middle of the night bought bows. They just, like, the power of Instagram is so crazy to me. Like, you have someone vouch for you and put a picture, and just, like, everyone immediately trusts your product, and they all just buy without even thinking.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've read the book Tipping Point, but it's kind of one of those things that, I think for for Instagram, it's such a great platform, and then it's also so hard because you compare yourself to what somebody else is doing and how much success they're having, and so you can get really down on yourself too. And so I think that's the hard thing about it. The great thing about it is when somebody does something and it just kind of tips your product, it's amazing how that quickly that can happen.
Totally. That's awesome. So if you could get help with anything right now, like what's the biggest challenge that you see in your business that you're trying to overcome?
Yeah, finding finding people who I trust to take over parts of the business, and finding the balance of what their work is worth for me to have them do it.
Okay.
I've had a couple of like 17, 18-year-old girls helping me prep bows and stuff like that, and that works great for prep. But even and possibly because I'm like not fanatical, but I really want the products to kind of maintain the same level of quality and things like that. And so, and I think that's something that you learn with trying to bring somebody on, is like how detailed they can be, and what seems so easy to me and easy for me to see that, well, that doesn't look quite right, doesn't translate into somebody else, and what they see is being right and good and perfect.
Totally.
So yeah, finding people that I can actually pass more of the making for, because ultimately that's not where I want to be spending my time. Isn't necessarily on making each and every bow. I love it, but I think that I would rather spend my time promoting my shop, working on new product. That's probably my biggest, where I would really like to spend most of my time is the strategic and developing the product line.
Okay. Do you have like a manual that you've made on how to make the bows, or do you teach?
No, and I actually just heard that on one of your posts that you had done that with the very first seamstress that you hired. So I might be doing that soon.
Okay. Because I found like the very first one I hired, I didn't have a manual, and I just like taught her like from one to the other, passing on all of my tricks, and it was exhausting. It took like a month of back and forth, and then it didn't even work out because she was like, "This is too crazy." But yeah, once I made a book, I just like sat down, took a whole day, made a detailed book that's like super detail oriented, and now I'm actually like, I started to hire some seamstresses out of state because I uploaded on Google Drive and just gave them access to the manual and a video training. And then I'm just like, send me a sample in a week, and if it's good, then you pass. And I'm not even like training them, but if it's not good enough, they won't obviously work for me. So
yeah, I think I heard that on your on one of the videos that I watched over the last little while of yours, and I was just like, well, that's a smart idea. Hillary's really got this dialed in.
Well, I hope that works out for you. That's cool. So tell me, if you were to have lunch with any entrepreneur, who would it be, and what would you guys like? Why?
An entrepreneur, I'm going to say the same thing as everybody. So Susan from Freshly Picked, but and I think she's done a lot of good podcasts too, though. So like, since we don't have like necessarily an hour access with her individually, she's done a lot of great podcasts, and so and then podcasted interviews that people have interviewed her. I guess I should specify or clarify that. And then she's not necessarily an entrepreneur, but Jenna Lyons, creative director at J. Crew, I think she just flipped J. Crew on its head and has taken it in such a great direction, and they've had so much success with her as creative director. So I think I would like to pick her brain about product lines.
That's a good answer. No, you're right. Yeah, she's super inspiring, I think.
Yeah.
So what would you say, or what are the future plans for Happiness Lives Here? What are your goals you have in mind, and what are you like really excited about right now?
In fall, I really want to dial my product line in. I feel like right now it's a little bit too broad and too, again, like I said, it's not scalable, and I need it to be more scalable to be able to manage it and to grow it.
Okay.
With that, there's a lot of things that are hard about it because people have already come to, I guess, expect like really customized orders. You know, even in orders that I get with, sometimes I get people saying, "Hey, I bought this set, but I want this instead of that." You know, and those things are really hard to manage. Individually, it's okay, but when you are getting orders, a lot of orders, those build up and they get really hard to manage. So I might take a hit on customers with that, without being able to do everything so customized and so individual, and doing things a little bit more scalable. So that is one thing, and simplifying my product line, making it a little bit more, I think, who I am, which is a little bit more minimalist, and yeah. So that would be one thing. Is I'd like to do more collaborations, and some capsule collections that are just kind of a one-time only. You know, I'll have this many of it, and then once it's gone, it's gone.
That's like, that reminds me of Crew and Lou, someone who does that really well.
Oh, yeah. Yes, she does.
Yeah.
I love that.
Cool. Okay, my computer died, so I have a new angle. But that totally reminds me of the 80-20 principle, like how they say, you know, 80% comes from something, and 20% takes way more time, and it's not producing as much anyway, so sometimes you just have to get rid of that bottom 20% to keep growing, and I feel like custom orders might be that type of thing, where they definitely have a place in your business, but it's not the bread and butter, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's something, you know, that you might just need to, like, cut out off the bottom.
Yeah. And because of that, because of the customized, I don't think that I get to spend the time on the things that I think also make a difference, like really good packaging and branding, which my branding too, if you were to ask, kind of also one of my biggest failures is that I wish I would have gone into this thinking more about the product line and what I was selling and the name. Happiness Lives Here isn't my favorite name.
It's cute, I think.
But, and those are things that you learn, when I started it, I was also doing some home products and things like that too. So it felt a little bit more justified for that. But now that I am mainly doing hair pieces, I may rebrand.
Well, that's okay, because Free Babes, when you Google it, it links you to Triple X sites. So
good.
I added handmade at the back of it, hoping that people always type in all three words. Because if you just type Free Babes, actually, my Etsy's overtaken all of them, so that's first. But then second through like 50 is like different Triple X sites, Free Babes. So that was kind of a mistake I made as well. So I guess to end, if you can tell us like any advice you have for all of the entrepreneurs listening and any of the women out here that are really deciding to take the leap into owning a shop.
Yeah, I would say put some forethought into the shop that you want to create, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't change what you're doing and change the course of your business, but put some forethought into things that you think are going to matter to you in 2 or 3 years. Name, product line, branding, those things that are, and the details of it.
I love that.
Those are things that I think that I've missed, and I wish I could go back, and not necessarily tell myself to do it different. Well, yes, maybe to tell myself to do it differently, but I also think that through any of like the mishaps or the missteps, those are the things where I've learned some of the best business lessons as well. So,
totally.
And then not to give up. Don't compare yourself. There's so many, right? Not to give up on owning your own business, even if it hasn't tipped or you haven't found the right product or you haven't found the right method of getting it out there yet. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the product. And I think that that's something that I think most entrepreneurs go through is like a point of like something feeling too stressful or feeling like you're not going to make it and wanting to give up. And then, yeah, so don't give up, but also don't compare yourself. Find your own niche and don't try to make yourself somebody else's.
Totally. Yes, that's so great. What I really like that you said was like start with the end in mind at the beginning. Like really start your business out. Even if you just like want to pull the trigger and get going, that's cool. But always have the end goal in mind with everything that you do and every decision that you make, because ultimately, like I said, we all don't want to be working till 4 a.m. forever. We want to have a big business, or one that at least like medium size, whatever works for our life. And it's the same reason that like Susan charged $60 for moccasins, even when she first started, because she knew like she had to have a profit margin to build a business.
Right.
So like all those decisions you make up front, like will have an impact on the end.
They will. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, especially with your due date being like any day now, to tell us your story. Hi.
Well, thank you. I've got one that just decided he was going to join us.
Perfect timing. And Jackie, can you tell us where we can find you on the internet?
Yes. Well, my shop is Etsy. On Etsy, if you did a search for Happiness Lives Here, all one word, you'd find my shop. And then on Instagram, my handle is @Happiness Lives Here.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys learned a ton from Jackie. And if you have any questions for her, you can leave them in the comments section of the blog under her feature. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Jackie. And I hope you guys have an awesome day and have just learned some things that will help you continue to build your businesses. Bye.
Bye.